Just like references or whatever. Now we can't really say it's still.
Turning it up in high school, man.
Yeah.
Shout out to Microsoft giving us this wonderful device right here. Yeah, it's touchscreen. For sure, man. How y'all doing? Everybody good? Thank y'all for coming out again. A lot of you all come out every month, so I appreciate that. I think it's dope that you all continue to take advantage of this program that we do here. This is by far probably my favorite program that we do at Kirk Studios. I love it. It's just so fulfilling to see. Serge's been holding it down. It's been about 6 months now.
6, 7, you know.
6, 7 months. Been, what are you, like the principal of night school?
Something like that.
Right? So it's special, but I'm excited to be here today. You know, as a part of our anniversary, it's our 5-year anniversary. So this whole month is just thank you. It's very special to do this and to continue to do this. And before we really get into it, I just want to definitely give a huge thank you to KEH for helping us put this one together and a few more that we're going to do over the next couple months. If you're not familiar with KEH, please get familiar. They're the leading resource for I'm really excited about it. And, one of the leading places for you to get camera gear. And I know a lot of people now are into film. You can get your film cameras repaired, all types of stuff through them. And they're the only company to distribute the Kirk Studios camera kit. So we love them right now. They got us on the shelf. So big thank you to them. But tonight's gonna be fun. This is gonna be a night school that I have never taught before. Something special. I'm actually gonna get from behind this desk today and actually show y'all how I get down with the camera. So I haven't done that yet. I'm usually just up here talking. But we're gonna start off with something like that right now.
All right. I'm gonna start with a little interview. So my name is Idris, aka Certified. Some of y'all know me at the studio. Portrait photography. Just a small introduction for myself for y'all that don't know me. But I know I see a lot of familiar faces in here right now. So what's going on, everybody?
What's up?
All right, so I got a couple questions for you, Cam. First one I got is, what got you into photography?
Wow. What got me into photography? I got into photography because honestly I needed a way to market this artist I was managing, to be quite honest. I had moved to Atlanta in 2007, not even 2007. And when I moved to Atlanta, I was not into photography at all. But as I went through Morehouse, I started to get introduced to Atlanta culture and got introduced to just the music scene out here. And I was throwing events, I was throwing concerts. And the first camera I bought was honestly the only reason I bought it was because I thought I was going to be a concert promoter. And I was like, if I throw a concert, I want to be able to document my concert and tell people that I threw the concert, or maybe take a picture with the artist that I booked or whatever the case may be. So the first couple months I bought that camera, it really just sat there. But after I threw a couple concerts in Atlanta, I caught the attention of a lot of local artists that wanted me to actually manage them because I was more in the business side of things. So I really broke the camera out when we needed someone to take our pictures or to take video footage of us, and we couldn't afford to pay nobody, quite honestly. I had a Canon T2i. Canon T2i, yeah. I actually took that picture with a Canon T2i. Yeah, I know.
Yeah, right. All right. What inspires your photography?
Yes. My photography is honestly inspired by real life. So one of the things in photography that stood out to me, one of the first things I learned, and one of the first things I try to do, right? So when I got into photography at the beginning, because like I said, I wasn't seeing this as my long-term goal. I was just like, I just need to do this for now, figure it out later. So I really wasn't concerned with being creative with it. It was really just like clear. I want a clear photo. Like, how do I get a clear photo or a clear video? So the first thing I studied or first thing I was taught was like, what's the perfect setting? Like F what? 8? Okay. At that time I didn't know what F meant. I just said when it's at 8, that's clear. Set it there, and then I knew the speed and the low ISO. So the first thing I bought, the first accessory I bought though was a 50 millimeter. So somebody told me that we see in 50 millimeters. So the distortion of people, the way you see someone, the depth of field and all that is it's most closely compared to what a 50 millimeter camera can do. So I was like, that's the lens I need because I want to shoot real life. I want to articulate real life through my work. So I bought a 50 millimeter, I put it on my T2i, and my work at the beginning, and for a huge part of the beginning of my career, was all about documenting real life. Like, I wasn't about disrupting a moment, creating scenes or props. It was like, I just want to capture what was going on. And at that time, I was more of a documentary style photographer. Like, I didn't get photo shoots. No one booked me for photo shoots. Like, I did not get photo shoots. I got booked to come to the studio late at night, or to meet them somewhere, or to shoot an event maybe, but I never got booked for photo shoots. So a lot of my early work, including like this one of Gucci, is simply me just happening to be there and being like a fly on the wall and just shooting. So again, my early work, I wouldn't say it wasn't creative because I still had to be creative with how I captured that moment, but it wasn't about disrupting their scene or making my own scene. It was just like, shoot this. And now, yeah, let me get that. And now, what I did realize that I needed to do was through Keenan, I think he has. Yeah, let's get on shit. What I did realize I had to do when you're documenting, so if anybody in the room is a more of a documentary style photographer, creativity does come in when you have to kind of like guess the movements of who you're documenting or try to predict what they're going to do next. So this is a scene from Shooters in His House, Gucci's video with Bankroll and Young Scooter. But there was some creativity and some thought that had to go into like, when is he gonna raise his head? When does he stop rapping so his mouth isn't just all over the place while I'm trying to take this picture? When does he get the most animated? Like when does he do this and that? So that was at most where my creativity was at. But other than that, it's just a real life. Like it's a real PlayStation controller. We was at somebody's house. Like nothing in that picture is like forced or faked. It's like that's what was happening. That's what I happened to be, witnessing.
Sure. How does your style differ from others?
I guess one of the ways I think that my style has been unique is just perspective. I think I have a different perspective as I approach photography because I didn't start with a passion for it. So I didn't get into it like necessarily like, oh, I want to be this type of photographer, I want to do this. It was like, I was doing it to solve a problem, like to get from point A to point B. So I was already taking pictures with the end result in mind, like what I needed it for. Like, okay, I need this picture to use it for this. So if I was taking pictures for my artists at that time, it was like, we need this photo or this type of photo, and that's what I was trying to capture. I wasn't really like necessarily getting overly creative with it. It was just like, I need that. And I think that started to play a part in even how I started to document early in my career with celebrities. I started to predict like what image that celebrity kind of needed. And that did become part of my early style. So like I took hundreds of pictures of Gucci back around this time. But I did kind of know in my head, like this was like the ultimate image that people thought of when they thought of him. So although I have images of him smiling, laughing, and being regular and being the human side that I knew of him, I did know from a marketing standpoint for the image he was portraying, Trap House 3, all that, it was like, this is Trap House 3 right here. This is the definition of it. So when I took that picture, I didn't take more than probably 10 photos that day. It was more like, that's it. Like, he's holding up a 3. It's like, that's it. That could be work for what he's on right now. So my early work was like really like identifying the marketing side of these artists I was working for and already seeing the end result. So I think that's what separated me early, was I was already seeing the end result of it. And that's kind of how I approach photography now.
What is your favorite part about photography?
Ooh. My favorite part, what I learned to love about photography is it is everlasting. Like a photo literally can last forever. No expiration date, no end, and it can travel the world also, and it can really, it almost can also be almost tattooed in people's brains. Like it can be that like intense to someone. Like a photo, like when we think of any celebrity or any artist, it's a photo that you're thinking about when you see it. Like it's somebody's photo that resonates because that artist is wearing some outfit or doing something in your head, and that was captured by somebody's camera, either photo or video. And I think when I started to understand that aspect, that's when I fell in love with photography over videography. Because I really started doing more videography because no knock to videographers, for me it came easier. it was just like easy to just hold your camera and record. That's how I was approaching it. Now I know now it's way more levels to videography and the motions and movements, but at the beginning of my time, I was like, man, if you just hold your hand steady, like, you can capture. You know what I'm saying? Like, but you trying to get a photo, this man might move, he might blink, you gotta know the right speed, you gotta know the lighting setup, you might not be able to see it if it's filmed. Like, it's a lot more technical layers. That's how I was looking at it. But when I started to think about that, and I started to think about like even some of my favorite movies, even some of my favorite music videos, like some of those I probably only watched like 3 times my whole life. And I might love it, but it's like, I watch it once or twice, 3 times, and it's like I watched it. Like, it's what else? But I started thinking about photographs, and I was like, damn, like a picture of Michael Jackson, I might have seen 1,000 times. Like, it might be the image I think of. I might see it in a restaurant. I might have someone see it as a screensaver on their phone. It might be on a t-shirt one day. It could be all these different usages that I was like, photography is really the wave. And I liked also at the beginning, photography was more of a solo sport for me. And when I was getting into videography, it was more about your team and your resources. It gets really expensive to do a quality video, regardless of how talented you are. It's not really something you could just wake up and say, you know what, I'm gonna just shoot a dope ass video today, like with no resources. Photography gives me that option. I can take my phone out and with no money, do whatever I need to do. So that's when I started to really fall in love with it.
For sure. Why is photography important?
Photography is important because this is, it's freeze framing the memories that we're going to pass down from generation to generation. So it's literally creating, it's documenting lives, and it's telling stories that can be told forever. If you think about like pictures of Malcolm X or Martin Luther King, like those pictures in itself tell stories that generations on end will be able to just look at that picture and tell a whole story of what's happening in the world or what time in the world it is. So photography is especially important for that. And then especially as a black man and as African American, it's especially important for me because it's our way to document and tell our story, our history, which has been erased or not necessarily told to the best of its ability or the truthfulness of its ability. What they can't take away is these photos that we're documenting that show our black excellence and the way we actually move and shape. These photos will be able to last the test of time and really prove how great we all are.
How did you come up with Kirk Studios?
Oh man, Kirk Studios was, if I'm being honest with you, Kirk Studios was like, 5 years ago that was like by chance. I wouldn't even say it was by chance. Like it wasn't what I was thinking about at that time. At that time, 5 years ago, to take you back to where I was around 2016, 2017, my mindset was just on like, I was finally starting to get some attention out of photography on the photo shoot side. So that's the very beginning. So I took that picture of Lil Yachty in 2016, I believe. So 2016 is when I started to put the artists on billboards as my way to kind of hijack the scene and get more rappers to respect me as a photo shoot photographer versus just the documenter. So at the beginning, they only called me, like I said, 1 in the morning, 2 in the morning, pull up, where you at, pull up, get this shot. Like, even like down that hall, like that 21 in Metro photo is probably one of my favorite photos of my career. But literally, it was the day before Savage Mode came out. They were in the studio listening to it, and they were like, yo, oh yeah, by the way, tonight we gotta send these photos to Apple Music. So I'm like, tonight? I'll pull up. They literally couldn't have been more dressed down. Like both of you, look at the photo, they both have on, I think Metro has on a Supreme black tee, no chains, and I think Savage has on no Payne's white tee. And they were in the studio. I think Metro Man had on flip flops in that picture. But if you ever were to see the full, we were at Drama Studio, and it was like, oh, we're about to just step outside and just take a photo. And that was like, you know, no knock to them. I appreciate the opportunity. Those were the opportunities I was given, right? It wasn't like stylists, you know, hair, this, that, studio, budgets, money, da, da, da. It was like, you know, homie, pull up. So when I did the billboards coming off of that, it was my way to like, nah, respect it. Like, this is what could happen if you give me creative control, if you let me come up with an idea, if you let me pick a location, if you show up when I tell you to show up versus the other way. So the Yachty was the first shoot I did for that billboard exhibit, and I was like, Yachty, meet me here. Wear something like this, do this. You know, like, we're going to go here. And this is my vision. Stand right here. I'm gonna take this picture. And so when I did that, when I did the billboards, then I did become the in-demand. I did start to get more of the demand for photo shoots. Like, oh, you're a billboard guy, take my photo shoot, take my photo shoot. So at the beginning, I didn't have a space. I didn't have a studio space. So as that clientele started to pick up, I did first start with just like, yo, I need a place to go. I'm tired of using other studios or paying this money. Like, I still wasn't necessarily getting paid to do these photo shoots, but at least they were willing to let me do a photo shoot. So long story short, without going too crazy into it, I met a guy who was trying to hire me to take video and photos at a party he was throwing in Atlanta. And he literally had the space that you're in right now, he had the lease for this. Was the door right here, Kenan?
The
door's right here, right?
here, next to that door.
So behind this wall, there's a door that led to another room. This other room is technically like where the lounge is. You all been in the lounge? It's like the lounge area and yeah, because this is the lounge, right? Now it's actually the premium suite. It's like right here. So it used to lead to the premium suite area, which was like, back then it was like a carpeted office looking space. And so it was like this side, that's kind of hardwood floors, and it was a carpeted space. He had this side. If you all have ever been in our dressing rooms, you'll notice the dressing rooms are kind of like recording studio. They're like vocal booths. If you really look at them, they have vocal booths in them. He was trying to make a recording studio here. And when I was talking to him just about doing a separate project, he was just like, yo, I got this extra space, which was like just this small little room over here. So actually the dressing room in the premium suite was the original Camper studio. So it was just that room. It was that. And I had a little section of the room behind it, which was my office. So it was just that, and this was supposed to be his recording studio. So this would have never been his. So vocal booth 1, vocal booth 2, it was his office in the back, and he was just kind of like, I don't know what I'm gonna do with this extra space I got, but if you wanna come and bring your rappers, I'm gonna set up my recording booth, they gonna come over here, we're gonna blah, 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 blah. I ain't even gonna charge you rent. Just do your thing. That's how it originally started. So it wasn't like I was like mapping out, like, Kirk Studios is coming right now, and I got the business plan. There was no business plan. There was no lease. I didn't talk to anybody. Kind of just came in here. Like, I made the logo on the fly, or a logo, not even a logo we have now. And I had this opportunity, and that's what I had to jump with. Now, fast forward, if you're wondering what happened with the story, the guy, for some reason, never moved in here. He got evicted. They were evicting all of us. No one really knows. They were evicting all of us. But, because I wasn't paying rent, I thought he was. So I came here, all the doors were locked. But, you know, me and Keenan used to be here so often that the building saw us, or they didn't see him or knew what he was doing. So they actually grandfathered me into a lease. Like, yo, They didn't check my background, my paperwork, my name. It was just kind of like, we see you all the time, so you want to keep it going. But also that was a big decision because I wasn't paying rent, and now it was like you playing around with the studio. But I was playing around the first 6 months. I wasn't really taking it that serious. I didn't have no rent really. I was kind of just using it for my own space. So that's why technically I don't consider that part of this 5 years, because it's really, that is like a stretch of like 5 months before the 5 years. So some of you all might have remembered I had a grand opening back then. Has anybody ever came to that side before? Anybody that OG? Nobody in the room? All right, cool. Oh, you bet. Okay, all right. So somebody might remember that. But technically, I started the 5 year when I actually took over the lease, and now it was about business. And then, so it's long-winded. I know. I'm sorry, but basically, that was when I discovered what Camp Kirk Studios needed to be about, and that's when I discovered it needed to be about community. It needed to be about this. Like that day we signed our name and lease is the day that me and Keenan came up with the free studio hour. Like, man, fuck it, get a time away for free. Let's just see who needs it. Let's figure out who needs the space. Because prior to that, no one was booking anything. It was like, let's see who needs the space. Let's put a face to the name. Let's bring them in here. Let's nurture them. But even at the beginning, like, we were still hands-on with the shoot from day one. Like, that was always a part of the concept. Like, when you book here, someone's going to be in the room with you if you need them to assist, hang your backdrop up, set your light up. That was always day one, because that didn't exist in any other studio, and that's something I needed at that time, even for myself, because I didn't know how to work in a studio like that. So that was always day one, part of the formula, and from there, that's when all of this stuff started to develop, like community. So as I started to see the faces of the clients, the faces of the community, I started to talk to people, meet people, the community got bigger, and then we started to continue to develop like what we felt the community needed together. And I'm part of the community, like things that I needed too. Like, and then we started to just kind of build all of that, and that's how I met like a lot of great people. And then from there, we just kind of took off like a rocket.
Sure. Do you have any type of like favorite photo shoots you like to have, like certain types?
Types of shoots?
Yeah, type of shoots, favorite type of shoots.
Yeah, my favorite shoot is right now. I'm in love with just studio photography. I love the bread and butter for me right now is like press photos for artists. So I love like working with a brand new artist. It's like a clean slate, and you're just tasked with just like 3-4 looks and just come up with his image. Basically, that's how I look at it. It's an opportunity to create the image for that artist. And it's simple. It's a pretty simple shoot. It doesn't require a lot of extra props or extra overthinking. It's kind of like really straightforward. It kind of goes back to like my original style of just like something really authentic and true without extra themes and extra stuff. So press photo shoots are probably like my favorite right now, and I do that for a lot of people.
So do you have any favorite artists you like to work with?
All of them. I love all of them. I don't have necessarily a particular favorite. I have a favorite style of artists. So I love artists that is open-minded. Like, I can't really define like one particular person, but I've had a slew of different personalities. So I can't. That's also why I like working with up-and-coming or new artists, because I just like ego-less work. I can't sit around here and play the game anymore. Like, I don't have the energy for it. I did that already. So I like when artists come in here and it's business, or it's eye-to-eye respect. I can't really deal with the cameraman mentality, or you just did it. I can't deal with that no more. So the best situation I like is when I'm dealing with someone eye to eye. If I say turn left, you turn left. If I say go right, you go right. If I say do you, you do you. Your energy is good. You're want to be here. Because 9 times out of 10, you asked to be here, or you're paid to be here. You should want to be here. So I like that. I don't like when I feel like I'm forcing someone to be at the shoot that they pay me to do the show because it makes sense, but it does happen often.
So, how do you determine your rate?
Damn, man. Tough questions, man. I always say your rate should be determined by you and you only. And I think your rate just needs to be an honest conversation with yourself about the project needs, what's going into the project, and what's it going to take for you to do that project with a smile on your face. Like, that's just the honest conversation I have with myself. Some days that's a really high rate, some days it's low because I just like the artist. So depending on what the project is, like, oh, I really want to do that. Some days it's about the vacation that comes along with it. Like, oh, where's the shoot at? It's in LA? Oh yeah, I want to go to LA. I've been like something like that. So let's make the shoot happen. So that fluctuates with me. But when I think about rate, it's really those things. Like, if I take this rate, am I gonna wake up and be like, damn, I gotta go do the shoot? Or am I gonna say, I don't really care for the shoot maybe as much, but the bread was right. I'm gonna be good with this. I'm about to go. I'm excited about it. And that's a very personal thing. I can't look in the textbook and tell you what that is. It changes. And it depends on the project. So I will say, and I'm gonna get into some of that in my part. I would say that I am not a fan of a standard rate, or like being a photographer with a rate card. I don't believe that's the best thing to do. I think that it should be all about the perspective of the shoot, the concept, what has to go into it, and what is necessary.
And last question, or what advice do you have for someone that's trying to start on?
The best advice I have for someone trying to start on photography is honestly advice that I ignored from my dad from day one, and that's learn your camera. Just before you start to make it an art form, just learn the actual skill set behind using your camera. It will save you a lot of headaches down the line, and it will give you a very solid foundation. Like, there's so many photos and moments that I literally missed, because I didn't know about photography. Like, I didn't know the skill set. I got lucky with a few shots, but at that same breath, if you would have brought me back to that room probably a day later and said, do it again, I probably would have been fumbling to know what setting is this. Funny story is, a lot of our work early was black and white because I didn't even know how to edit photos, and I just was like, black and white just looks dope. Like, and I had a T2i, the quality wasn't the best, so it had a little bit of grain. And I heard early on, like, black and white looks dope when you got green because it gives it a film look. And I just like ran. I used to run with that like all the time and convince everybody that it was on purpose. But a lot of it was me not knowing. So I wish, like, there were moments I can never get back. There were rooms I was in and people I was around where if I was there right now with the way I know how to take photographs, it would have been like my portfolio would have been crazy, even crazier. And I missed a few moments by not knowing camera work. Like, there were some opportunities I got early on that I just don't think I crushed it. I don't think I killed it. And it didn't lead to me maybe getting that opportunity in the long run. So the biggest thing I would say is learn your craft first, but also learn the business side. Don't just learn ISO, f-stop, and aperture and all that. Learn what's a good hard drive to have. Learn what's a good lens to have. Learn what's a good backup system for your content. Learn how to send a professional email that will get you more work down the line. Learn how to reach out to someone. Learn how to maybe put your own website together so when you do get a fired shot, you know how to put it on your website. Or learn how to post on Instagram. So if you do got some dope work you want to show, you're not struggling on how do you get engagement. You do have to learn the all around basics. And then once you got that, now you have a dope ass foundation. And then now it becomes about, are you dope? Are you a good creative? Are you fire, what's your vision, what's that, but you're putting it on top of a layer that's already like a solid foundation. Immediately you're gonna outlast or pass 30,000 people just because you have that foundation. Most people don't. They're like, you won't believe they're like professional photographers that still don't know the difference between the JPEG and the TIFF file. Like I'm talking like real deal people like that couldn't tell you what they do, you know, don't know the difference between a CR3 and a JPEG, or why they shoot on RAW. Like they're photographers now that have collector gallery, I done had to go behind and be like, you only shooting on RAW, you only shooting on JPEG? Yeah, what else? RAW? But the RAW don't open up. Well, do you have Photoshop? I be doing it on my phone. It's like, you know, it'd be like stuff like that. You be like, all right, bro, let's get back to the basics. This is how you do it. You know what I mean? And you just be surprised. So I would say just, you know, learn the craft first.
For sure. I like that.
Anybody else got a question before I get into what I want to talk about? Then we're gonna get into some more stuff.
Okay, when you were in all of these like studio sessions with artists, did you like never have a flash?
Never had no flash, hell.
And you were able to like have enough light? Because I feel like every time I'm in a studio session, it's just like the lighting is so dark.
So you have to plan for that type of work. So I invested, like when I realized this is what I was supposed to do. So for the first like 3 years of my career, or first like 5 years of my career, that was my life. It was studio sessions. It was concerts when lighting is low. That was the elements. So everything I invested in dealt with low light situations. So when I did upgrade from the T2i, it was what's the best camera in low light situations. When I did go from the T2i and all that, it was like what's the best lens that can go down to 1.2 or 1.4 and get a crisp shot. So like prime lenses get you go real low with a prime lens. So I started to think about that. I never used a flash because when you're in the studio and you're documenting, there's nothing worse than making someone freeze up or notice that you're there when they're trying to actually create. It's nothing more distracting. You will find yourself quickly annoying. So I never used flash. I used like 50 millimeter 1.2 was my go-to. I can get really low with it. I ended up getting a better camera where I can go to 1000 ISO, maybe 1600 ISO. And then I also have real steady hand. So I focus on that. So if you got a real steady hand, you can shoot at a speed of like 60 or 50. And if you got a steady hand, you know, you can still get that shot. But now they have like mirrorless cameras, which are really good for that because your camera doesn't have that shake with the mirror going up and down. So it helps with having a steadier hand so you can shoot at lower speeds if you need to. But no, I never had a flash. Never used flash. Still don't really use flash.
Is there, like, do you think there's a major difference with Gold Ops and Pro Photo?
I think lights are lights. That's how I honestly feel. Whether it's the sun, whether it's Godox, whether it's Pro Photo, I use Westcott lights. Those are my favorite. Westcott anglers. So the studio, if you shoot here at the studio, what are they? Anglers, right? What is
Anglers.
We use angler here. I like that because it has a really fast sync time. So as I'm gonna go over today, like I'm a rapid fire shooter. So I need the flash to reset really fast, to recycle really fast. So I will use anglers, but now I use Westcotts. So all my shoots that I've done recently, like let's see, I use Westcotts on these. They're the wireless lights that are in the back. We have them in the studio too. So if you ever are here and you want to really annoy Marley or Juice, just tell them to make you shoot on these Westcotts and make them set it up for you. But they're wireless. They're dope. But I did this with them. I did do this with Pro Photos though. You know, to be honest. So sometimes, depending on where I'm at or where the studio setup is, I'll kind of go back and forth. But a lot of my recent work has been, these are pro photos too.
Oh yeah, that one. Good looks. What is
This one with lens.
Yeah, and lights.
Lens, I use 24-70, and I use studio lights. We shot this in here in the studio. So we shot this. Put a backdrop right there. I don't think I use the Westcotts for them.
Nah, you did.
I use these. I use the regular studio lights that we have here, and I use this is 24-70 lens right here that I used. This right here is probably a 2-point light setup. Right here, 2 lights. Sometimes I usually do a 3 or 4. I usually do a 4 light setup usually on my shoots. What's up, boss?
What's going on? I was gonna ask you, you're at a shoot, you can only choose one modifier. What are you going with?
That big softbox you see right behind you.
48?
Yeah, I'm gonna use something like that. Or I'm gonna get, it depends on the shoot. It does depend on the shoot though. Because I've also done 4 no modifiers at all. Just 4 harsh lights just doing their thing. So it depends on, let me see if I can find something I did like that. It really just depends on what I'm shooting and what I'm shooting for. Oh shit. Oh man. It depends on what I'm shooting for. But it kind of, like this right here is no modifier. But it's gels, so I don't know if that's a cheat code. It's gels on here. But a lot of these photos didn't have no modifier on them. I was just kind of going straight at them. So it kind of just depends on the project.
So between 07 and 2016, when you did the exhibit joint, like what was the moment where you was like, I'm taking this seriously now, like I really want to do this?
Serious moment happened when I pretty much got fired from my artist that I was managing. So the thing that got me into it that I thought I was doing it for, it's funny, my whole life, even past that moment, my whole life has been a series of, oh, I think I'm using photography to get me here. And God just always wipes out the here. Like it just always happens. It happens like, I can't even tell you how many times it's happened. But it always works out that way. So when I was managing the artist, that's why I picked up a camera. And that's what started to get people to even notice I had a camera because of the work we were doing. When he pretty much, we separated and cut ties. I needed it out of more necessity. Now the camera became, all right, I need to use this until I get to my next thing. And then I went hard with it and things started to really work out in my favor. But I still didn't see it as like, this is what you're gonna do, this is what you're gonna be. It was just like, all right, I'm just doing it, right? It's paying bills, it keeps me in Atlanta, I don't gotta go get a corporate job. I was just telling somebody this story the other day. This might be an exclusive. I can't remember if I ever said this in person before or on camera, but 2014, it was like 2014 when Future dropped Honest. I got a call from Future's manager. I was working with Young Scooter at the time, Future's artist. I got a call from Future's manager like, Future wants to interview you to be his assistant. And see, at the time, that's what I thought I was doing. I thought this was the camera leading me to go eventually work back in the business side of the music industry and maybe be a music exec. And it was like a week before Honest came out. I interviewed with his manager, I interviewed with his mom. And in the meeting, they literally told me like, can't be no photographer no more though. That's over. Like, you're gonna be his assistant, you're gonna have to do all this XYZ, doing this and this and that. And I was still with it. Like, that's how foolish I was. I was like, hell yeah, let's do it. And a week later, he switched his entire management team. I never heard back from it again. Like, ever. It was just like, all right. So I was back to, like, okay, this camera's all I got. You know what I mean? And it's so many lessons like that. So I always would say just pay attention to signs. Like Another time, I got my car broken into. They took everything and left my camera on the seat.
Wow.
Really, like the craziest thing, I had like a good lens on there. I was wow. Like, they took my bag, had all my hard drives in it, but left the camera there. Just like the camera is just here.
They say you gonna need this.
Yeah, we need that. Another time I was out shooting a music video, stole my whole car. But I had my camera in my hand because I was shooting a music video. So I'm sitting in the middle of nowhere with just my camera, no car, can't even get back. It's like, I've had so many moments where it's just like,
You on your camera.
yeah, you on that camera, man, you gotta stop running from it. And then that's when you talk about taking it serious. It was like certain of those moments had to sit in where it was like, oh no, it ain't no alternative. It ain't nothing else. Like, this is what you were meant to do. You know, go full-fledged, you know what I mean? And I think I've had a lot of radical wake-up calls. Like, those are very extreme, you know, cases where the universe or whatever you believe in is really shaking you to be like, you know, down to my name being Cam. Like, I was born that way, right? So it's like, you know, I've had so many radical wake-up calls, and this is what you're supposed to do. But I'm sure if anybody that's searching or have found what you're meant to do, if you were to go back to signs, you might find things that was like, wow, that ironically that did happen, or this coincidentally did happen that led me here, and maybe that I am supposed to do it. You'll find it. I think everyone has gotten a sign of what they're supposed to do. I think it's literally the thing that you're good at. It's one thing in your life you've always been better at than anybody else, naturally. Like, it just, and when you start to dissect what those traits were, those character traits, and apply it to a direct field, you'll kind of realize, like, this is what you're meant to do. I was a quiet kid growing up. I never really spoke, but I watched everything. I was always observing. Like, I knew every piece of drama going on in high school, although I had no friends in high school. It's like, that's just how I was. I could tell you everything. So it's like all those things, when I look back, I'm like, I was photographing before I had a camera. Like, I was taking pictures of these moments happening at my school before I had a camera. I've been doing it. So now you just put a device in front of me. I know what to capture because I'm hyper aware of what's going on. So that's how it worked for me. Got another one?
Yeah. What made you start the agency or the record label?
I launched Collective Gallery, which I did. When did we do Collective Gallery? Like 2 years ago, technically. I launched Collective Gallery honestly because of Kirk Studios. Like, prior to this studio space, photography for me was, in a lot of sense, a solo sport. It was just me doing it. And I did, much prior to this, I did have a very immature mindset before I met like Keenan and Skrill, like certain photographers that have been around me from a long time ago. I used to have that immature mindset of, I'm not having no photographers around me. I'm like, it's my shot. Like, nah, I'm not doing none of that. Until I met genuine people that you do start to want to see them win and you do want to see them grow. And that started with like meeting Keenan and Skrill and people that were riding and dying for me regardless. You know, and then you start to want to see them win. So when we opened up the studio and I got to meet other photographers and meet other creatives and hear their story and they telling me how much I inspired them, or I picked up a camera because of you and this and that, what I started to look at was, damn, the playing field now is unleveled because the resources are not being spread. So although I've been blessed to gather resources through my knowledge or through experiences or through whatever, maybe even my ties to music and celebrity culture, I'm meeting photographers who I thought were sometimes more talented than me, had a better eye than me, and were on it earlier than me, and they just didn't have certain advice, guidance, resources, the ability to have a team. So the studio allowed me to open my eyes, like, wow, it's a lot of us. Like, it's a lot of us trying to do this, and this is dope. But then on top of that, everybody's missing these certain tools. Like, no one knows what to do next. I'm getting asked the same questions every time I walk into the studio. How do we do this? How do you do that? How do you do that? And I was like, all right, I need to bottle up this blueprint that I got and actually now start to take it to another level and pick some people and actually start to see if what I learned and what I did for my career will work with other people. To know if it's a true formula and not just my personal formula. And that's what the idea of Collective Gallery started. So it's a twofold process. It's one, to directly impact and help those who are directly signed to the label, just like any other label does. Your goal is to impact your roster, obviously. But the bigger picture is the goal is to impact photography and the photographer's position in the entertainment industry overall. So the reason why we call it a label is because we all are artists. We artists, period. I'm just as much an artist as Lil Baby, period. So it's also like a marketing tool to like make people question, make the music industry specific, because that's where I'm at, question that. What you mean it's a label? How is it a label? How is your shit a label? Do the same stuff. Like, it's that mentality to where it can hopefully wake up the industry to start respecting content creators the same way you respect the people in front of the camera. You gotta respect the people actually making what it is y'all are selling and promoting and producing. So that was like that's the big picture mission that extends way beyond me. Is that we hope that being a photographer on a label is normal. And you don't gotta be on my label. The goal really is for all of us to be on big labels. The goal is for Rock Nation, Atlantic Records, Def Jam to all have a slew of photographers next to their rappers or whoever else creative field that they want to get, and they all respect us as artists and give us certain resources to go to the next level with our craft. That's the whole goal. Anybody else got anything? All right, cool. All right, so what I wanted this class to be about, I'm gonna get into like a few quick things, and then I want to actually get up and show y'all just how I move in the studio. What I wanted to do with this class, because I feel like I spend a lot of time when I do talks or panels or even a few of the night schools I do, I spend a lot of time talking about more of the business side of it versus like really getting into like what I do with a camera and how I capture certain moments. So I hope a lot of you all are photographers or even into photography in front of me. If not, I still think you can get something from my insight and my intellect with how I approach different projects and how I approach just my business as a whole. So I wanna walk through like a couple of scenarios and then kind of show you like a little gist of like how I prepare for shoots and how I get into them, and then like what goes into like a typical shoot from me. Cool? All right, so step one for me and for most people before any shoot is pre-production, the pre-production phase of a shoot. Maybe even before pre-production, get hit up by a client, a label. Okay, let's try that one. Click. Oh. There's an icon on here you can click and it shows you how to contact me. So it's my email address. So first thing that I have, if you look at me, is very clear, distinct ways that you can reach me and work with me. Although some people still act like it's so wild or so difficult to get in touch with me if you want to do real business. In my Instagram, you can literally hit email. It will take you to an email that I actually check and monitor for work. As well as my website, my functioning website, things of that nature. So I'm gonna take you through the scenario of this shoot right here. So this shoot right here, in my email, I got hit up by an agency called Hype Makers. Anybody ever heard of Hype Beast? Hype Beast? All right, so Hype Beast has what's called an agency. So an agency is Hypebeast's business to business creative side that basically works with different clients, whether they're in this case Giuseppe, and they pitch out to Giuseppe a creative brief or a creative plan to produce certain shoots. So 9 times out of 10, when you get to this level of doing commercial work, every brand has an agency, which is a subset of the company. 9 times out of 10, if you do a shoot for Nike, you may not ever talk to somebody that works at Nike. You're gonna talk to the agency that represents Nike. So I throw that nugget out there, number one, because if you're spending all your time looking only at companies and who works at Nike, my friend works at Nike, maybe he can get me a shoe. Chances are he's not the one in charge of the shoe or the marketing side of it. It's an agency that's going to then hire you. Not to say that's, if you talk to the right person, they can have some say, that's to say what you can and can't do or who they want to use. But 9 times out of 10, it's going to be an agency, and that agency is going to be the one that reaches out and produces the shoe. So that's usually who's going to reach out. In this case, the agency was Hype Makers. They reached out to me to shoot this shoot with Young Thug, Giuseppe. I think when they first sent it out, a lot of times they might send it out with like a little bit of discretion. They may not tell you who it is. They'll kind of ask your availability, and they'll ask for like, are you interested and are you available for production in Atlanta around this date? Now, where a lot of people, a lot of photographers, I even say myself sometimes, where I get beside myself is, whenever you get reached out from that perspective from a brand, it's always good to have a buffer between you and the actual client. That buffer allows you to, one, be more stern and be more direct, and it keeps your face card clean. And what I like to think of it is, it shows the brand that it's more than just you that has to make money off of the shoot, so the budget gotta be right, just justified. Like, you talking to this guy, he gotta eat too, or this lady, she gotta eat too, so you gotta know that I need enough money to break bread with my team, and I have a team. Also, when you're at this level, they wanna know that you can handle a shoot. If they just talking to you, it doesn't give them the assurances that, okay, it's a whole team over there. Cam got a team, whatever. So when this came in, although I have visibility to all my emails, which I think is ultra important, still to have a team, still be in the loop and be in the know. You know, there are times to the day I might draft an email just for my representative to send it. Like, still be in the loop of what you're doing,